Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Raquel. In today's video, I'm going to help you prepare for the Illinois Cosmetology State Board exam using the Milady Standard Cosmetology 14th edition. Now, we all know that Milady has changed their books, so you should have the Milady's 14th edition, and you also need the Foundations book. It's a black book, so they come paired up together. If you're nervous about taking your state board exam, trust me, you're not alone. A lot of beauty students feel overwhelmed because cosmetology covers so much information between hair cutting, hairstyling, nails, skincare, sanitation, chemistry, hair color, chemical services, and the list go on and on. So it can feel impossible to figure out, what do I need to study? But the good news is you don't need to memorize the entire book to pass your state board exam. You need to just understand the major concepts focused on the test, with chapters to study and test strategies. For those who are new here, my name is Raquel. Again, I've been in the beauty industry for about 8 or 9 years now. About 8 or almost 9. I am a licensed cosmetologist, esthetician, a nail tech, as well as a beauty instructor. I am a licensed beauty instructor to teach. I love helping students pass their state board. When I was working for a school, that is one thing I really want to focus on because I felt like they didn't really lock in with that. So that's when I started making videos to help break down state board. So in today's video, we are definitely going to break down what's the Illinois Cosmetology exam, how many questions are on the test, if you need test accommodations, what Milady chapters to study, some PSI testing tips, and just if you need books or any study material, flashcards, I have all that available in my stand store. All you have to do is click the link in my bio, and I have flashcards, study exams. I also have a free guide that will teach you how to study, what apps you need, as well as what books you need. It's in my bio. Before we talk about the chapters, let's talk about the Illinois State Board exam and what to expect on test day. So we all know in Illinois, you will take your practical exam at the school. Once you pass your practical exam, your instructor or your campus director will set up for you to go take your state board exam through PSI. It's a multiple choice test. So most students, you'll see around 100 to 120 theory questions. You have around 90 minutes to about 120 minutes to complete your test, depending on how it's formatted for you and the accommodations. To pass the Illinois State Board for Cosmetology, you need at least a 75% to pass. One thing I would tell you guys, don't panic when you're taking your exam. Please do not panic. Please do not change your answers. I always say go with your first mind and never change your answers. It's also scenario-based questions. Now, I know a lot of students, when you're in the school and you're taking the test, and it might seem a little bit easy, but the way state board is, it is designed to trick you. It will have 2 of the same answers, but you have to choose correctly. So you really have to pay attention to what they're asking for. Now, let's talk about accommodations. It is a lot of people probably out here that has anxiety, depression, ADHD, a learning disability, a medical condition, or even test anxiety. You may qualify for accommodations through PSI. Do not cheat yourself. If you know, hey, when I take a test, my mind go blank. You got test anxiety. I'm not trying to diagnose you right now, but I would definitely talk to my primary care doctor and get that set up, and don't feel ashamed. With them accommodations, you can get extra time on your test. You can get a separate testing room. You can get additional breaks. You might can even get a reader if it's approved. So all you have to do again is get that documentation from a doctor, a therapist, your school counselor, all that information that you need. Give that to PSI, give it to your school. And I really want to say this because there's nothing wrong with a little extra support that you might need. So please do not feel ashamed about that. Here is the breakdown on what's on the Illinois cosmetology exam. So your first section is going to be salon safety and sanitation, which is 32% of your exam. So you will go over infections, sanitation procedures, tools, gloves, chemicals, medical emergency, blood, draping service, disease and disorders, health and sanitation regulations, and hygiene. That is going to be in your foundations book. Remember we talked about that earlier. Milady has 2 books now. That foundations book is where you're going to find that. That's going to be in chapters 5. You're going to need to know cleaning, disinfecting, sanitation, blood exposure, OSHA, EPA, bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, PPE, cross-contamination. This is really heavy on your exam. You need to know that for sure. So cleaning removes visible dirt and debris. Disinfecting destroys most bacteria on non-porous surfaces. Then you have sterilization, which destroys all micro life to the highest level. So you need to know the difference between those. Also, you might need to understand the difference between porous and non-porous tools, because the exam might ask you, what's the difference? Make sure you know the proper order of steps. A good study tip is write the blood exposure procedure down over and over until you remember it. When I teach, I'm more of a repetition. I want you to keep doing it till it's drilling your head. You might have to write it down a few times. You might have to put it in a sentence. You might have to use flashcards. But the more you do repetition of it, the more it's going to be second nature to you to remember. You also will want to review chapter 6, which is general anatomy and physiology. Listen to me carefully. Do not memorize every muscle and bone in the body. Focus on understanding cells, tissues, body systems, circulation, nervous system, muscles, and basic anatomy terms. The next section is going to be chapter 9, which is hair and scalp analyze. You want to understand hair texture, density, hair growth, hair structure, cuticle, cortex. These are all important things that you should go over. Students also get confused between elasticity and porosity. Those are things that you need to know the difference of. You know, elasticity is when the hair is able to stretch and return. Porosity is when the hair is able to absorb moisture. You might need to know that as well on your exam. Your next section is going to be hair cutting and hairstyling, which is 13% of your exam. So you'll cover advising your clients, cutting hair, reducing bulk, styling hair, thermal styles, wigs, and extensions. You will need to go over chapter 13, which is hairstyling. Chapter 14, braiding and braiding extensions. Chapter 15, which is hair cutting. So you should understand blow dry, thermal styles, finger waves, pin curls, braids, updo, extensions, over direction, blunt cuts, layer cuts, texture cuts. All of those can be scenario-based questions on your exam. Like, for example, you might go into what haircut removes bulk? What angle creates a graduate layer? What happens if the hair is over-directed when you're trying to cut? Those are some things that you want to make sure that you know of. So I don't want you to memorize like the definitions. Actually understand what the concept is and what the question is asking you. Now let's talk about some hard sections of the test. Your next section is going to be weaving and relaxing, which is 13% of your exam. You'll go over product effect, selecting and using products, perming and relaxing, safety and sanitation, and client characteristics. The hair coloring section is major on the state board. So you need to study chapter 16, which will be like your primary colors, secondary colors, the color wheel, levels and tones, underlining pigment, development, toners, lighteners, gray coverage, color correction, patch test, and strand test. Students struggle a lot with color theory because it can feel very frustrating at first, but you also need to understand like your cool tones and your warm tones and your neutral tones. Your next section is hair coloring and lightening, which is worth 13% of your exam. You'll go over selecting and using products, color and lightening, safety and sanitation, client characteristics, and that's 13% of your exam. Chemical texture services. You need to focus on chapter 17. So you need to understand permanent waving, relaxing, neutralizing, processing, and chemical safety. A lot of questions can be based on like client safety and proper procedures. So for example, what should you do if a client complains about burning in a relaxer services? Think first, safety first. The next section is nail services. And this is 9% of your exam. You'll go over implements, manicures, pedicures, artificial nails, safety, and sanitation. Those services I want you to study. Chapters 21, manicuring. 23 is nail tips and wraps. 24 is monomer, liquid, and polymer powder, nail enhancements. And chapters 25, UV gel. You need to understand the nail anatomy, nail diseases, nail disorders, acrylic nails, nail tips, nail wraps, gel nails, sanitation, and nail chemistry. One thing students struggle with is the difference between a nail disease and a nail disorder. These is usually required a physician to diagnose and treat. A disorder may be not need medical attention, but it depends on the difference of it. So let's move on to the skin chapters. Next section is skin services. This is going to be 9% of your exam. You're going to go over makeup, waxing, sanitation, safety, and using products. So that's what you're going to cover. You need to know chapters 19, which is basics of aesthetics. Chapter 20 is hair removal. Chapter 26 is facials and makeup. You should know skin types, skin disease, contraindications, hair removal, wax safety, makeup basics, and corrective makeup. You need to know when to perform these services. Now, a client might come in with pink eye. That could be something that's contagious. Now, State Board loves contraindication questions. They love that. So you need to know when can you perform these services. If a client has an infection or open wound, they're contagious, you need to know the correct procedures. Now let's talk about how you actually study for this exam. And the mistake I feel like students do is they read the textbook over and over and over without testing themselves. You have to do things repetitionally. I would say read and give yourself a quiz. If you don't have any test questions, you can always use ChatGPT to quiz you. I'm going to start adding prompts if you need somebody to test you. I'm going to start adding those into my study guide as well. Another important thing when you take your test, reading is very important because it will trick you. You need to train your brain to answer questions PSI state way. Like I said before, they will ask you, it will be 2 correct answers, but only one of them is correct. So here's what I do recommend. Study a section at a time. Study 1 to 2 hours. Use flashcards. Practice vocabulary. Take quizzes daily. Review missed questions. Practice scenarios. Most important thing, pay attention to the words they're asking. If they say most, first, not, except. PSI does that a lot. And one word can completely change the whole question. So you have to really read what they're asking you. So before your exam, I want you to get enough sleep, wake up, eat breakfast, bring your ID, arrive early. Stay calm. Stay calm. Don't go in with a negative mind, because if you go in with a negative mind, you're not going to pass. You're going to psych yourself out. Read the questions slowly. Sometimes you can read the answers first and then go back and read the question. Don't panic. Don't rush. Take your time. Use all the time that they allow you to take. If you need a study guide, flashcards, practice tests, all you have to do is click the link in my bio for my stand store. I do have resources for cosmetology, esthetician, nails in my bio as well. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment below. Let me know if this video helped you or anything else you would like for me to focus on. Again, good luck on the Illinois Cosmetology State Board exam.